the Khalistan issue has boiled over and is continuously in news. Now, there are some who say they are political refugees in Canada and portray themselves as such. But is that true? How can we equate this or not equate this with those who went from Sri Lanka, the Tamils who went from Sri Lanka? To discuss this, we have today with us a veteran journalist, RK Radhakrishnan, who has worked for several years in Colombo and is working on the politics and the whole issues surrounding Tamils there and how it has played out for Sri Lanka as well as for India. Very welcome, sir. You are with NDTV. And the first thing which we would like to ask, as I said, that many Tamils also have shifted to countries like Canada, UK, US, and they are accepted as political refugees. But can the same be said about Khalistanis? Is this even equatable? I mean, is it possible to even compare both of it?
Not at all. Because you will see that 90% of the Sri Lankan Tamils settled in Canada are political refugees, whereas 90% of the Punjabis and the other people who went to Canada from India are actually economic refugees. They're not political. I can't even call them economic refugees. You can call them economic immigrants. And they're not political refugees. People who probably went in the wake of 1983, little before that, little after that, may be considered political refugees. Even that is a stretch. If you look at the Indian state and the benign nature of the Indian state, definitely soon after the death of Indira Gandhi, of course, there was a problem. Sikhs were being hounded in Delhi. Yes, that we can understand. The Operation Blue Star, yes, even at that time we can understand. But after that, I mean, that's a very, very long time ago. But Sri Lankan Tamils continue to go into Canada even as late as 2008 and 9 and all of that. They are the actual political refugees. These Khalistanis and the other people definitely know.
Well, what differentiates them? Like, is there a process? I mean, does the government, any government, maybe be it Canada or US or UK, does it have to approve their coming over there, or once they have gone there as refugees, then the status is bestowed upon them? How does it happen? If you could explain for our viewers.
See, actually, the refugee determination is usually done by the UNHCR, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. But parallelly, European countries and US and Canada and a few other countries which claim to be liberal democracies have had their own technical explanations for the word refugee and has been taking refugees as per their convenience. Suddenly now it becomes inconvenient, so a lot of them are not taking refugees. In Europe, you can see that most of the refugees are being pushed back, people who come from Africa and whatnot. Mostly economic refugees. Obviously, economic issues dominate the north of Africa and the Horn of Africa and many other places. Now, the UNHCR's determination of refugee system, it's a hugely complex system. It is not done, on a whim or a fancy. It is really done to geolocate these people, where they are coming from exactly, the dialect that they speak, the family relations that they speak of, the connections that they have, their native village, every single thing is established in a UNHCR system. Unfortunately, that is not the system that is going on in Canada or the US, whereas where the State Department or the intelligence agencies decide that some people are important, they need to come into the country, and there is a irregular system of bringing in people. I think that's where they made the mistakes. Even with bringing in Tamil militants, for instance, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, who went on to buy a large number of properties in Toronto and other places. Even today, if you look at Canada, the largest Indian population is in Toronto, and there you have a significant number of Sri Lankan Tamils, and the economy still revolves around land and property and whatnot. And this is a legacy of the LTTE that the LTTE left behind.
Right. So we can say that the people who have migrated from India and even those who call themselves Khalistani support the Khalistan segregation. So would you now it established that they're immigrants, they're not political refugees. So what sets apart their rights as an immigrant and the rights of political refugees? Is there any difference between them?
Absolutely. There's a huge difference. If you talk to anybody in Toronto, any Tamil in Toronto, he'll definitely support the Sri Lankan Tamil cause. He'll definitely support even the LTTE, I would say. I'd go as far as to say that merely because the Tamils underwent, regardless of where they came from, particularly from the north and the east and all of that, regardless of where they come from, the Tamils underwent persecution at the hands of the Sinhala state. And this is a fact. This is an established fact. Every single Tamil has had an experience, regardless of whether you went from the 80s or 90s or 2000s or even later on. Now, you take the case of the Sikhs and the other groups that went from India. Absolutely not. It is not the same story any longer. What you see is that, it's all, goes back to Operation Blue Star and the assassination of Indira Gandhi and the action against Sikhs in Delhi. They are still hanging on to that and still claiming that they are being politically persecuted in India. These are completely different stories. Tamil minority persecution in Sri Lanka is a fact, continues to this day. If you say that Sikhs are being persecuted in India, I think everybody will laugh.
Well, Mr. Radhakrishnan, would you say that the treatment of these countries, these states, would be any different towards the political refugees who have come in from different countries and the immigrants? Many immigrants who have gone from different countries, they have taken citizenship. So they have citizenship rights. But those who have immigrated otherwise, would they have the same rights? Or the political refugees who have gone there, would they have the same rights as any other political, any other citizen? Or it's different for different categories?
Everybody has the equal rights once you become a citizen of a country, regardless of whether you're an economic immigrant or you are a refugee. But I would say that the refugee process, the refugee determination process, and the way they are placed in a country is actually heartless. I would say that there were many instances that the UNHCR itself has recorded of families being torn apart and families being sent to different countries, and sometimes some members of the family can't go and all that. But in the case of economic immigrants, you'll see that one member of the family goes and he manages to somehow bring in the next member of the family. And finally, the West has now gotten used to gotten smart to the idea that this is what is happening. And they've completely stopped that kind of, people coming in, the families or relatives coming in. It's a completely different story. And I don't think these two can be compared at all.
Right. Thanks so much for setting this straight Tamil cause has been supported by almost all the Tamils who have gone there. But of course, those who call themselves Khalistani, that Khalistan cause they want to adhere to is not supported by all the Punjabis who have migrated from India. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye.